In the dark, I play my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Creating the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. Back it up in everything. Bringing change, making it last. Sun's embrace, growing veggies in the urban space. Got the rhythm, nature guiding me. Turning red to green to this harmony. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, with soulful grace. In the VIP scans where we find our place. We fly the earth, one fly at a time.
Oh yeah, welcome to episode 312 of the Permaculture Pimpcast. Pimp stands for permaculture is my passion. Sorry, y'all, I got a bug in my throat. And of all the doggone times for it to happen right in the middle of a broadcast. But anyway, going to have a good show for you tonight, but I'm going to knock the housekeeping out front as I always do when I have a guest on. This episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from twooldcrowshomestead.com. Turn that simp into a pimp. Bam! Living Soil Foundation, that's the nonprofit we started to clean up Western North Carolina. And we're making some really, really good progress. And I want to thank all the people out there who have given donations. Your money is being used very, very well. Want to let you also know, Harvest Right has got a sale on right now, and it's an additional $100 off to whatever the discount. I mean, they've already like slashed everything. I'm pretty sure that might have to do with the tariffs. Because I'm thinking, like so many other places, a lot of components have come from China, and they're going to have to get this stuff off the shelf before they can't even sell it at all. I mean, they didn't tell me that, but that's what I assume. Anyway, they gave me a promo code. They reached out and said, hey, we know you're already, you got an affiliate code with us. And I'm a big champion of their stuff. So Perma Pastures 100 will get you an additional $100 off of whatever they're charging anyway. So it helps us out. Wave Watch, that thing that shoots those self-veggio tones all through my body. Yeah, Billy 100 will get you $100 off of that too as well. Redemption Shield. Look, y'all, every time I do this show, I'm G'd up from the feet up, and I mean grounded. My feet are on a grounding mat right now, and all those electrons, all those really good electrons from the ground, from the earth, all those wonderful things are actually going into my body as I'm in this studio getting bombarded with all these awful things. So Perma will get you 10% off there. And don't forget about EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Remember, the worst thing that can happen to you is an EMP. Well, for the nation, I'm going to say it's an EMP. Won't go through all that. In fact, the guy who wrote the definitive work on the subject lives about an hour down the road from me. 1 second after is the name of the book. But anyway, if things go sideways, look, you're not going to the club, you're going to your house if you got any sense at all. And honestly, your number one threat out there is really lightning. And they have lightning arresters. I mean, EMP, lightning, it handles all of it. If any of it gets past it and Kentucky fries anything downstream, they're going to cover you for 25 G's. That's what I'm talking about. So EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. And hey, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, look, I know we ran out of stock of everything online at our online store at permapasturesfarm.com, but it looks like Michelle just restocked everything, and I'm in the middle of making bone sauce as we speak. So that's the world's best deer repellent. Make it right here. So we got it all back in stock right now. I'm only going to have at first maybe 5 or 6 of each of the 4 ounce and the 8 ounce, but hey, get in and we'll be off and running. Hey, want to give a shout out to everybody in the house. If you would hit that thumbs up, tell everybody we're live so they can start suppressing us right off. That's why we are number one in the audio space in the farm world. So folks, I'm glad you are with us here tonight, and here before too long, we'll go to your questions after a while. But tonight, I got my first ever permaculture teacher on with me, and we're going to be talking about something that is of profound value, especially for those of you people out there that have kids. And honestly, I think we're going to be covering, I don't do a whole lot of show prep when I get a guest on, y'all, especially when I know who they are, because number one, I'm already aware of their work. That's why they're on. Number two, I'm also aware of how profound this information is going to be to you, especially for those of you in this time where I know everybody went back into the matrix when Trump got elected, And I told you, in fact, I've given you thousands of reasons as to why you shouldn't. And I think you're going to get a few of them tonight. With that said, I want to invite on Nicholas Burtner. How you doing, my man?
Probably about a 7.2 right now. Now that I get to see you again, you and your lovely, lovely self. How about you, man?
Man, I'm doing good. When you say 7.2, man, these days, I don't know if that's an earthquake going off or on a scale from 1 to 10. I'm doing good, man. I'm, just running around. You know how it is this time of year, man. It's, you get up, you start working when the sun rises, and even when it goes down, you're still working. So you know how it is.
I do. How many chickens you got out there now?
Right now, we only have, I've scaled everything down because it's just me and Michelle out here and William's out in your neck of the woods. So we don't require near as many. And honestly, I'm retooling a lot of things. So I dropped back down to 16. We got a bunch of sheep out there that are having babies. And of course, they don't require, in terms of sheep, it's just as easy to raise 10 as it is 100. So now we got about 10 of them out there, and they're probably all going to have twins. So that should happen any day now.
Oh man, you got some good genetics there.
Yeah, man. How's it going on your end?
Well, you see, I'm out here. I'm a new, basically, bird's perch where I'm at. I'm elevated at the moment. I moved into a new homestead in North Texas, and I'm still in construction phase, right? I've actually been here a couple of years, but I only landed full time not too long ago. Here's a pond that came with it, but down at the bottom is caliche. So my neighbor has the same issue. He used bentonite, and he's doing pretty good, but I think this one's a little bit lower in the landscape, a little bit more caliche. So we're always looking for solutions. I think I'm going to try my first actual liner, go ahead and put the liner in on this one. Dug out a bunch of it here and used it for filling in a driveway. And it worked out okay. It wasn't bad, but yeah, I'm doing good. 7.2. That's really good. It's better than a 5. It is a scale of 10. It's not an earthquake. And maybe at some point, behind this camera, I've got some places where potentially 2 more, maybe 3 more people could come in and stay here, more of a long-term situation. Even though I promote, doing Airbnbs and whatnot, I personally started thinking about it, and I'd rather not. It's such a great area here, just have so much wear and tear on the buildings, and so maybe looking for those like-minded permaculturists. Over there it's maybe on 2-3 acres, and it's the heart of the chicken system, and it'll be dairy cow, and so you never know. The right fit maybe might love it here. Thank you for asking.
Well, man, it definitely, wow, man, it sounds like a whole lot has happened in your life, man, as far as, I love the scenery there, man. I mean, man, beautiful pond in the background. You're outside. You're getting some of that vitamin D that I wish, well, maybe you're not getting vitamin D right now, but you're at least outside where I wish I was right now. So I might have to just, as we were talking before we went live here, I might have to move this whole operation outside here before long. So what's new in your world, bro? I mean, you always have a lot going on. You have a lot of different things. Are you still doing in-person permaculture design courses, or is it mostly online these days?
So was it 2016 that you came through my in-person course?
I have no idea, bro. It
was either that or 2005, man. I don't know. It's all a blur, right? Anything pre-COVID is like, what happened, right?
Right.
It's one big, huge psyop. Well, so since then, especially since COVID, it's been mainly online. And the reason it's mainly online right now is because I'm making this place pretty awesome, at least for what it is, And so it's in the construction phase, where I'm kind of on right now. This is another little building that I put up, no mortgage on it. And, my daughter, when she first, stepped foot in it her first time, she just dropped her bag and looked up. She goes, "Daddy, I love it." And she started blowing kisses at her new house, right? And let me tell you, man, it kind of goes into the subject matter, what we're going to talk about. As a father, that feels great that my kid loves it. I don't owe a mortgage on this building.
Right on.
And, you know, and if it's still here, and because, you know, I thought I was going to be living on a ranch there for a while, and then, you know, pass that down to my kid, you know, to my children, and then also the knowledge, right? So, you know, I'm watching her at school. I'm watching her with the graph paper. She's drawing floor plans. She's watching me, you know, with a nail gun and you know, cutting wood with a speed square. And so, you know, doing my best, man, having her pick it up as, you know, she's growing. She's still little, right? So hopefully, just by osmosis, she's going to be able to grab this and, you know, do like what we're going to, you know, as I lay out here in a minute, you know, if we get into it, how she can also not owe a lot of money and then also turn around and use these skills to make money and provide. Like if you're a business owner, you're providing jobs for people. But if you're a landowner, you can provide houses for people, right? So you're still loving people, but also it's financially productive for the person who owns it as well.
Yeah, man, I want to definitely get into that, because what you brought up to me, folks, just a little background here. When we were trying to weigh out what we were going to talk about, when Nicholas, it was actually his idea to talk about this, folks. As you know, if you listen to this show, it's one of the biggest things that's near and dear to my heart, is how we take these kids from being wage slaves and turning them into entrepreneurs. And, you know, Nicholas and I are both entrepreneurs, and, you know, do okay doing it. And so it's like there's a book out there. It's called Evangelpreneur, written by Josh Tolley. And the essence of it is that when you go to work, when you go away from your family and you're going, let's say an 8-hour job or whatever, well, maybe it took you an hour to get there, an hour to get home. Let's say it's 10 hours you're away from your family. Think about it. The best part of you that you spend every day is with total strangers, and you give your family what's left over. So if there is a way to somehow keep your kids from being wage slaves and giving them the tools they need to go out there, because honestly, Nicholas, I don't know about you, but when I was coming up through high school, I remember I was being completely, and I'm using this word purposefully, completely indoctrinated with, you have to go to college, you have to do this. Well, you know, having been a person myself of, look, I got a college degree, a military education, a trade education, and a farm education. And the one education that does not put a single dime in my pocket was the one I got through. And I got 2 college degrees. So it never put a dime in my pocket. So why don't you speak to that right off before we jump into it?
Yeah. Thanks for the layup. I did also grow up in the time period. I'm like the last of the Xers, right? The latchkey kids. I know I don't look it, right? Thank you. I'm at that age where it's like, oh, you tell me I look 30. I love you, right? I love you. But so growing up, same kind of thing, you know. It was kind of like, this is what you do. Go be a white collar worker, because that's where all the jobs were. As I get my late teen years, that's kind of when computers were just starting to really kind of come into the market. And, you know, I was listening to something the other day, and it was like, if you remember, computer was a scary thing for a lot of employees. And, you know, they were cutting the cords at night because they didn't want to learn anything new. You know, accounting was like, you know, we got our systems. So learning it again on a computer, and now look at it, it's something massive. And I'm pretty sure AI is going to do the same thing, but I don't know. I think we should all go watch Terminator again, Terminator 1, and just, you know, come on, man, come on. But I got indoctrinated into the idea, and if I'm being honest with you, and it never fit for me. I was, not that I'm a bad student, and as an adult, I'm an amazing student, right? I'm a lifelong learner, but the structure of I think it was J.P. Morgan who kind of came up with the idea of our schooling system. It's just not, it didn't work with me. And so I used to say I'm just a terrible employee. And there might be some truth to that, but, you know, kind of doing my own thing always fit and, doing it with morals and integrity that, kind of focused, first and foremost, taking care of my own, but then helping other people. It just seemed like a much more fulfilling work, and my first jaunt in entrepreneurism wasn't so much helping people in general. It was helping other businesses, but still, hey, they needed something right away, and I kind of worked out a little niche to make it to where I can help them. So now, with that said, you and I have talked many times in the past, and I remember we used to say the word rat race all the time. That idea, it launches you into this not thinker, but part of a cog in a wheel, which we need cogs and wheels, but it doesn't really fulfill you in the end. That makes you maybe have something that I consider very valuable, which is freedom. And so when you're kind of in the system and your parents are telling you and society is telling you this is what to do, and you have somebody kind of, if you remember the 90s, nobody ever there wasn't the internet, man. The 80s and it was closely held secrets on how to be a business person, and anything you did was like super risky. And so if you were going to tell your parents that you're going to start a business, they're going to laugh at you. It's like, yep. And even today, you're going to fail more times than you win. But, at least we have YouTube and things like Perma Pastor's Farm and Billy Bond to tell you like how to do things. But that just wasn't around, and so it was a real big risk back then. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I do. And I agree completely. Yeah.
So I did that, and you just kind of like said, I'm just not going to fail. And it was, I wasn't planning on talking about this at all, but I didn't like it. Looking back on it, it's 20 plus years ago, looking back on it, I didn't like it. Worked, but I didn't like it. I used fear in my head as a motivator. And so it was like a mantra. I would tell myself, like, I'm not going to eat unless I do this. Now, it created a crazy work ethic, but it's not so good on the adrenal glands, right? It's definitely high in cortisol, not a lot of peace. Nobody talked about morning rituals but morning routines. I mean, how to calm yourself and things like this. But that's how I did it, and I don't regret it. I would just do it differently and teach it differently today. And there's such an opportunity. Even to do something crazy like buy expensive land, if you've got maybe a floor plan or not a blueprint, to show you a way, right? I don't know if I agree that there's only one the way, and that's Jesus. But apart from that, learning to do something in the tangible world, a pathway like I'll give you an example here in a minute. Might be beneficial for somebody just starting out.
Yeah. So why don't we jump into that? As far as my motivation, it's funny because I don't ever specifically remember having this particular conversation with you, but I had exactly the same motive, because there was a time in the United States of amnesia where these were closely held secrets that nobody ever talked about. They were in books out there, but you didn't know what books to find. The internet wasn't available. And even my own family were some of the biggest detractors. I don't know if it was that way for you, but it was my family telling me, oh, you got to go off to college. You got to do this. I had my oldest brother is a doctor. And, that was the road that I was supposed to go on. And I'm realizing, okay, this makes no sense at all when I got down to it. I started off on that path in college thinking I was going to go to med school, the whole 9 yards, only to find out that, look, why am I going to do this and be riddled with debt for I don't even know how long and for a career? I don't even like being around sick people. Why am I doing this? So, looking at this whole thing in the rear view, I'm realizing that so many things I did early on were based almost completely on fear. Because like you, I was like, okay, well, kind of burned the life raft here. I better sink or swim. And like you said, there's a lot of sleepless nights. So I would say that in this time, the opportunity to succeed has never been greater in terms of entrepreneurship, depending on what road you go through. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It's not like it was all these years ago, where I remember when I started this not roofing business, but a insulation business. I had to literally knock on doors and go put myself in the yellow pages. Okay. These days you can just start a website overnight. Yeah. And I was doing that at the same time I was going through the electrical apprenticeship. So I was doing all these things and going to college at the same time. So not knowing, which way I should go and not knowing, how I should do all this sort of thing, kind of figured it out along the way. But I think for people out there saying, especially when it comes to their kids, oh, just run off to college. Well, Nicholas, let me just kind of take a little side note here, because down the road from me, about 15 minutes away, is a university. Of all the degree plans, and believe me, I know because I looked, of all the degree plans they have, every single one of them is a degree in worthlessness. The child's going to spend, or the kid, or the adult rather, who goes there is going to be $100,000 in debt with a degree that they can't do anything with. Yeah. All except for one degree, and that's nursing. That is the only degree they have there where you could actually find a job. The rest of it, I'm like, what parent is saying, you know what? Yeah, this sounds cool. Let's go get you a degree in basket weaving. What are your thoughts on any of that?
So let me be clear. I'm a professional learner at the School of Permaculture. Do quite a bit of education with people. I love academia. I love to learn. I like to read books. I love the history of agriculture, which goes into the history of people. These things are fascinating to me. Doing it in a university, how do I say this politely?
Don't be polite, bro. Just say it like it is. I mean, honestly, I think I know where you're going, and it's almost about ready to be a mic drop moment, but go ahead, drive on. Well,
I'm going to leave it like that. I think since everybody probably knows where I'm going. So look, let me just set this up. And I don't know why sometimes we go long bits of time without speaking to each other much. And I'd love to know how the family's doing, by the way. But, this is going to speak a lot to you as well, being a professional electrician, right? And so what I'm about to lay out is really targeted to parents, and it's going to be targeted to your middle to late teenagers as well. But even if you're 30, right? I'm living what I'm about to tell you, and I'll be 45 next month, So you got a kid and you're not sure what direction. At least today, things are becoming more apparent. People are, they're seeing being lied to about COVID, and they're, people are going, wait a second, things aren't adding up. Okay. Potentially steer your kid into a trade. And I think electrician is the way to do it. Now, but hear me out. I'm saying something different. I'm giving you a stepped process. This is the first step. Okay. So just like you go do a trade. How much did it take to get a master electrician for you, your certification?
Absolutely free. As long as when I was in the apprenticeship, as long as you scored above 90% on everything, all of your books, all of your tuition, everything was free.
Wow. Well, here in Texas, I did a Google search a couple months ago. If you're going to pay for it and not have something amazing like you had, between $1,000 and $15,000. So if you go to university, it's like you're putting a 45-pound plate at the gym on top of a newborn baby and say, grow. I mean, come on, man. That's ridiculous. So if you got a kid, let them live with you. Let them live with you and have a conversation about freedom. Freedom in this world that's like, trying to capture you and not give you freedom, and putting a plate on you as you're just leaving high school and putting tons of debt on you. Say, listen, go do any trade. It doesn't matter. I would recommend anything in the construction trades: plumbing, electrician, HVAC, framing. So electrician's good because if you can get electricity, and it's not hard, it's really not, you can do all the others. And it's really not a no-brainer. I just wired 2 shipping containers over the last week. And I don't have what you have, Billy. I have no licenses, no certifications, right? You just learn. You just learned it. And you do have YouTube University. Be careful with that. But wire it and then hire a professional electrician at the end for an hour to come out and make sure you don't burn your house down, right? And as I go further, you're going to realize that you don't necessarily need to meet all the codes depending on where you're at. So, all right, here it is, man. Kid, live here. And either you go get a side job, or I'm going to go ahead and pay for your certification for electrician or whatever it is. Now, while you're doing that, learn permaculture on the side. And then also, I want you to go and get a framing job at I don't care about the money. I want you to have the skills to frame. That's what you need to learn. If it's your kid or something like this, and you already know, how to use a speed square, circular saw, the real thing is the rafters, span tables are all online. How far apart do beams need to be to put headers on? All that stuff you can find online, but just get some experience under your belt while you're being an electrician. So you're getting a small job. If you choose to, go ahead and have your kid pay a small amount of rent, getting them used to the mental idea of it. And they're learning a trade, ideally electrician. They're also learning some framing, and they're paying to live in your house, teaching responsibility. Have them save up as much money as possible. Again, learning accounting, right? Learning how to do taxes. This is great for if you're a homeschool parent. Once they saved up enough, and we're not going to get into playing the credit game, but we can. There's ways to like getting secure CDs at different banks and getting secure credit cards and doing that at the same time. If you wanted to, you can build credit. But ideally, you're saving up money because you're living with mom and dad. Then go look in your area that you want to go and go find you a couple of acres and learn the septic codes. Like if you're in Texas, there's TCEQ, but learn the septic codes. And so that way, because some people think you can buy an acre, but really you can only build on like half an acre of it. The other half, some places, there's laws or regulation. I mean, the point is just learn it, because you never know. You may need 10 acres. You may need 3 to do what I'm proposing that you do. Go and get you a small mortgage, pay 20% down with the money you saved up. And if you're building credit, that's a different topic. Then you've got a small note on a piece of land. The kid does at 18 or plus, right? So no longer a kid. You're paying a small mortgage on that. You still have your actual electrician job. If you're apprentice or whatever you are, making way better money than you are if you're going to go be an AI software engineer right now. All right. That's super flooded, and AI is going to take over probably every computer job in the not too distant future anyhow. Let me stop here for a second. Let me be very honest with you. I don't know if I've told you this, and anybody watching this. Before I started permaculture, I didn't even know how to cook, man. I don't want to use the word useless because it says don't use the word useless when talking about brothers and sisters in Christ. But man, I couldn't even cook for myself, let alone grow any food. So it hit me hard. What am I going to do if I can't make money? And because everything I was based my living, my sustenance had to do with me making money, not with actual life sustenance. As you know, permaculture completely changed.
Hey, Nicholas, let me jump in for a second. I don't know where you are, but the wind is really jumping into your mic, and it's making it difficult to hear anything. I didn't know if there was a place you might be able to reposition, or
let me try to reposition.
Okay, while you're
give me 1 second.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and absolutely concur with everything you're saying there, because in a nutshell, that's exactly what I've done over and over and over again. You don't have to go out there and buy. You don't have to go out here, first of all, buy this house with this giant mortgage and put yourself in 30 years of serfdom. There's not a way to do that. Part of what Nicholas is talking about, he did a little video on his channel. It's about a 6-minute video, and I think he laid it out pretty darn well. as to what he's doing right now. So as you were, my man.
All good. Hopefully it's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Live is always good with technical issues, right, man?
Yeah. Well, that's the only way we roll.
Look at you, man. I love it. Man, hey, look, how do you give me you're better with words than I am. How would I say this? I remember being your educator in permaculture, and look at you, you're doing better things than me, man. I mean, how good can I feel about that? Dude,
bro, I wouldn't say better. I'd say different. It's, just,
I'll say better. I hope you are doing better, man.
No, I mean, there's no complaints on my end. I mean, outside of all these chemtrails that are dropping over the sky every day, outside of that, I don't really have a whole lot of complaints. Actually, I'm lying because I do have a lot of complaints, but it's not going to do any good right now.
Out of things out of your control, maybe. Complaints are things out of your control.
Yeah, for the most part, but let's get back to this thing. So the kid
sounds good.
The kid stays with you, saves up in the little nest egg, which I think is fantastic. Also paying a little bit of rent because you're kind of realizing, hey, there's no free rides here. I made that mistake I've made that mistake before by not making them have a little bit of skin in the game. And then now it's time for them to go out there, purchase a property with a small mortgage because it's just bare land. And like you said, put 20% down. Depending on where you're buying it, you may require a little bit more. Every piece of land I bought, for the most part, I've done on a handshake deal. So I know what Nicholas is talking about works. So yeah, I mean, take it away, bro.
So yeah, so there's multiple ways to do it, but this is a way where if you're not savvy, you're not a real estate investor, you don't find the right buyer. This is just a standard way to do it. It's a way. It's not the way. Remember how I set us up from the beginning. All right, so you're going in, you got your small, and you may still need to live at home. Kid may still need to live at home, which is fine, but you got a small mortgage. Save up some more money. Now, look, a couple of videos ago on my YouTube channel, which hopefully after I'm done with this construction phase, I can start making a lot more of them again. I did a walkthrough of a small home that I made, and I literally from grass to completion. And we did it in 1 month. I couldn't believe it, right? I mean, God intervened in that situation there. But the entire deal was 640 square feet. It was a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. And I made it in such a way, I put it on skids so I could move it. Well, I ended up not having to move it. But point being, after it was complete, I went online and I talked to a real estate agent and I said, hey, how much would this sell for on the market at the time? And this was 2022, and it would have sold finished out about 80 to 120K, depending on where you're at. Billy, I have no degree. I have no certification being an electrician, no certification being a master plumber. I don't do I don't know a whole bunch about HVAC. But me, I did most of the work. And I had a couple of people come in to speed things up. Between 80 and 120K retail, it cost me less than $25,000 materials and me hiring my friends to come in. And that goes to show you, once you're like, if you go to the framing job and you're going to be an electrician, the secondary thing that's happening there by osmosis is that you're getting a group, you're starting to know people in the trades. So like, for example, I don't have a compressor to do HVAC, but I know people now, right? Because I've been there. So they need their back scratched. I need my back scratched. And it works this way. It definitely works this way. People coming out that I don't know, they're brand new. I found them, like this, my HVAC guy. We sit there and we chit chat for a little bit. And the family realized, oh, wait a minute, man, you're on like a little farm. You're like a little homestead. And it's very interesting for them. And people are starting to realize, like, this is something I want to do. And then they're invested in helping you, right? And they want to know, they're asking questions. How did you get here? How did you do this? And that's a great way to have community and social capital, right? So you're learning how to do it. You can build you a small home. It costs you, I'm going to go conservative here, 30% of what it would be retail, right? So you got you a $100,000 house. You can do it for less than 30 grand. A small one, that would be a very small house in today's market, but you could still do it, right? And you're saving up money so you can do this. And then you build it and you have no mortgage. So then you leave parents' house, you live in there for a while, and then you save money, and then you wash, rinse, and repeat. Now, listen, we have an explosive population. And if you look at some of the laws of nature that's written out by Birch and the Permaculture Designer's Manual, one of those laws, I think it's the first one, is when a population size gets very small or very big, it's at the brink of extinction. Our population's getting there. That doesn't mean, but we have a lot of space on the planet still. But what we don't have is a lot of capital that's easy to access to young people, right? And so this method makes things, if you have parents that will help you, they will make things easier for you. So now once you build your second one and your third one, your fourth one, depending on how much land you have and what you could do within the invisible structures of the law, like septic systems and whatnot, you start helping people and renting them out. So let me give you an example of how that works, at least in my heart and my mind. So, today, in today's market, it's easy to probably make anywhere between, there's Air DNA out there that shows you like actual numbers of your market and what people are doing. And so to make $2,500 to $3,500 a month, being mostly booked for like 24 days a month for a unit is very reasonable and very easy to do. You might not need that much money because your notes are smaller. So you may go to a church or go to your police department that has a victims unit. And at your church, there may be a 60, 70-year-old man who just lost his job. He just needs to get back on his feet. He needs 6 months. So maybe you rent that out for $1,500 and you're helping somebody. And let me tell you, that just feels a lot better than just doing it for money. Or if there was a mom, leaving an abusive husband, and she got a kid or two. Oh, in today's day and age, it could be the dad leaving an abusive wife. We all got stories, man. Then your what would you call that? Emotional capital. It helps you feel better doing humanitarian work than just trying to make money. I mean, I don't know if you would agree with that, Billy.
Absolutely. I would, without a doubt, the most fulfilling things I've ever done in my life. I've never been paid a dime for them. Yeah, I totally agree.
Amen, man. Yeah. I didn't used to be this way, right? Coming up, it was like fear-based. It was like, you got to make money, man. And yeah, that just no longer can drive me. Like, you got to make money. If you got kids, I very much care as a father how I raise children. But if how are we impacting the minds and the hearts of our kids and what we do to earn money? And I'd much rather any children of mine see me, working hard, that brings first and foremost glory to the Lord, but that helps people. Now that may be something that could be argued that, yeah, you're able to do that because you're not worried about, like, I'm not in a refugee camp, right? So I would say that argument's solid at that stage. But if you're living in any country in the westernized world, these opportunities, what's stopping you is a mindset.
I couldn't agree more.
I've come from not a lot, and I've started businesses, and I've lost everything, multiple times. And, so finding what motivates you and drives you, especially if you figure out it's not money, is going to be a very beneficial factor for you. And, that's something that's probably just as important of learning a method like this to help kids.
Yeah. But to your point, I think the structure you came up with is profound, because how many people are stuck into a dead end position or a dead end job, or these kids that are locked into a certain thing because they want to make that money. Well, you know what? It's kind of hard to, it's difficult for a lot of folks to be generous when you're not at a point of abundance yourself. And so when you're just barely scraping by and you're eking your way through day after day, week after week, month after month for a pittance, and then because you didn't have a good structure, and just like so many other people out there, they go out there, you got into a car payment you can't afford, and you went and bought a house you can't afford, and then you went out and married some chick because for all the right or wrong reasons or whatever, and then she runs off with a go-go dancer and then takes the kids with her, and then here you are on the hook. Whatever the case may be, if you're using the structure that you're talking about, first of all, nothing teaches you better the consequences of your conduct like physical work, which is exactly why I loved your idea from the very beginning, because every job I've ever done in my life, for the most part, has always been physical. I may have been the foreman a lot of times, but it was still a physical job. And I'm also, directing people on what they should or shouldn't do. But when you start out with that, this is why I think this is absolutely brilliant for so many people out there that their kids are lacking direction, don't know which way to go, worried about AI taking out the job. And like you said, it almost certainly will, especially a lot of you folks that think you're safe in these white collar jobs. You know what? I got a feeling MDs are going to be like an extinct species here before long. But the point being is that when you can jump out of high school or whatever the case, or like you said beforehand, like the Bible even says, raise a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So if you're teaching that kid that work ethic all the way up the way I've done with my son, and you're saying, hey, go get a trade. Oh, hey, you know what? It's a lot easier for you to do what you want in life if you're not a wage slave, if you're not slaving away day after week, day and week after week, month after month for a bunch of stuff you don't need anyway. Boy, you could really live high on the hog if anybody could, provided you don't pick the wrong spouse, or provided you don't make the wrong mistakes in terms of what you're. If you go out there and buy this brand new sports car, you're going to be a slave. You go out there and get all this credit card debt, you're going to be a slave. You go out there and buy a house you can't afford, you're going to be a slave. But you could be the free, because I'm all about the freedom, just like you. If you could structure things exactly the way you're talking about, you'll never really work a day in your life. You could tell somebody you wouldn't. Let's say you were an electrician and you're working for yourself. Somebody wants you to do a job you don't want to do. Well, you can tell them no. You don't have to go out there and do this crappy job that you don't want to do just because, oh man, I got to go get this. My kid wants this G.I. Joe with a Kung Fu grip. I can't afford it, so I need to go out here and get it. No, you could actually tell them no if you structure this. Nicholas, I think this is absolutely brilliant. And I think it's going to be a great blessing to a lot of the people listening to this right now have a lot of young children, and they're probably wondering, heavens to Murgatroyd, what do we do now? They're approaching high school or they're about to get out. What happens next? And I think you offered a great framework. Thank you for that. Two things in that mindset as a parent. One is, if you haven't thought about it, think about it. Is your 18-year-old going to be able to afford their own home working down at the Walmart? Great point. No. The answer is no. And if they go get a white-collar job, which, look, I'm not 100% opposed to white-collar jobs, but like we both said, anything that's software-based, it's going to be so fast, It's the only job, I think there's only a couple jobs where, like, making sure, like, you're redundant is beneficial. One is a permaculture educator. That's one where it's really beneficial. But one where it's not is where you're designing computer systems to take your job, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's what you've seen those memes on online where it's like a bunch of guys like sawing different limbs off, and it's like, which one's the less bright, and is it the one sawing right? on the edge of the branch? Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. So thank you, but what just got me. You got my brain juices going there. New crinkles. That might be a good podcast for another deal. Like, definitely, I couldn't help you on how to choose the right partner, but how to make sure, there's
just conversations and things to look for and look out for if you're trying to get freedom, and some of the big hangups that could happen, and just, make you go broke. You lose half your assets, and then, all of a sudden you're paying for 2 households, and it happens here in Texas. It happens to men all the time. I'm just shocked it's not part of the curriculum in elementary school to be like, hey man, this is what you need to do, man. And yeah, I mean, that's a whole other deal, coming from love, not from hate. I still greatly agree with how God wrote it out, right? A monogamous marriage is definitely the most successful tool. It's just we're not all being taught the same thing. Some of us are being encouraged to get passive income by taking kids away, and so that's not the healthiest thing for society in general. It's not the healthiest thing for society in general. So one of the things that I think for clarification is they don't have to only get a trade job, but it's going to pay. You're not going to have a robot fixing a P-trap anytime soon.
Absolutely.
Anytime soon. You're not going to have a robot, using wire cutters and just to put, the brass, silver, and green screws on an outlet with 12-2 wire anytime soon. Can those things happen in a laboratory? Absolutely. But at minimum, look at your heart, man. If you knew that there was a stubborn 80-year-old man who's taking a shower in the dark because he won't ask anybody for help, would you go change his light bulb? You have the skills to do it. Everybody can change a light bulb, probably. He just literally can't reach it because he's old. Now, imagine how much more powerful you will be for your community, for yourself and your family first, and then your community, when you actually have skills that nobody's been telling their kids to learn. And when I grew up, blue collar was considered low class.
Yep.
Well, I think what I'm looking at today, there's been such a surgence of the feminization of men in the westernized world, where the Marlboro man, I think to a lot of even girls who are very feminist, are like, that's a sexy man, because nobody's actually working, actual work, So that may be something for the young men to think about as well. Get your hands dirty and, learn how to swing an axe, learn how to swing a hammer.
Well, to that point, Nicholas, knowing what we were going to talk about, I made a list of some of these jobs. Now, folks, to his point, there are some careers out there, like to get in the electrical apprenticeship. When I went through, like I said, if you got a 90 or above, you got all your money back. You paid for it on the front end. You had to have skin in the game. And, so at the end of the day, I went through my apprenticeship, and because I used my Army GI Bill, I got paid to do it. So not only did I learn the trade, I got paid to do it, but there are other trades out there, because I've gone through 2 apprenticeships. Well, more than that, really. I'd say permaculture design is to a certain extent an apprenticeship in itself. But anyway, I became a butcher. And how did I do that? And I've talked about it over and over and over again, folks. What did I do? I volunteered and I worked for free. I told those folks at the local pig in Kansas City, you know what? I will work for free. They laughed me out of the place. I had to go back a couple more times, and eventually they brought me on. And one of the proudest days of my life is when one of the guys in there is yelling to the other people in there, how is it? And he was meaning me. How is it the old guy? Of course, every drug-addled hipster wanted to be a butcher in those days. So I was the old guy. He says the old guy who doesn't even get paid is the hardest worker in this whole place. And of course, he's scolding the other people working there. And you know what? I stuck my chest out a little bit more, because I told them just to get in the door, because I was sick and tired of taking my animals in and getting somebody else's back. I said, I'm going to learn this. And because I showed such enthusiasm, I was taking off work from the job I got paid to do to go in there and work for free. He would call up, hey, Billy, you want to learn how to make sausage today? Now, I knew what the real reason was, is somebody called out. And of course, I'm working for free. And well, it wasn't really for free, because they paid me in meat, which was more than money. hey, this guy. So there are trades out there, and I made a list here of all the different things you could do. But that's just one example of a trade that can make you a lot of money. Now, Nicholas, I came up with this short list. Electrician being at the top of the list, and the reason why I say electrician is because a lot of people will try their hand at plumber, being a plumber, carpentry. Yeah, I guess you combine those to get plummetry.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a plummetrist. I'm a plummetrist myself.
Yeah, there you go, man. But people think twice, for the most part, about getting mixed up with electricity. So at the top of the list, yeah, I'm going to say electrician, then plumber, welder. And by the way, even if you worked in the commercial space or the industrial space and everything I'm talking about here, y'all, I mean, you make nice money. If, like I said, if this thing falls apart tomorrow, I can go work. I'll have a job tomorrow making lots and lots of money. And by the way, folks, these jobs are in such short supply right now that in a lot of places all throughout this country, they are paying above union scale just to get people to take the flipping job. So welder, fabricator. My wife, not only did she go to college, but afterwards she went to welding school, used her GI Bill for that. Heavy equipment operator. You make nice money on that. Butcher, meat processor, small engine mechanic, diesel mechanic, arborist, tree specialist. That could overlay with your permaculture design certificate that Nicholas was talking about. Permaculture designer consultant. William makes his full-time living as a permaculture consultant right now. In fact, has a YouTube named that. Off-grid systems installer. That's solar, water, waste, all that. How about a farrier? I mean, not a whole lot of money there, folks, to get that education, but you could be outside getting all the vitamin D you want, working with these animals. Believe it or not, a drone operator. You could be a drone operator doing, what do you call it? There's a word for it where you basically survey the land.
Surveying. Yeah.
There you go. Surveying, aerial survey.
You be a photographer, surveyor. If you get really good, you can get you a LiDAR camera, and that's specialized. You make tons of money doing that for cities.
There you go. Yeah. GIS. I mean, all that stuff. Woodworker, timber farmer, animal trainer, dog breed. I mean, there's all these things here, most of which require almost nothing. Almost nothing. And if you overlay a kid doing what you described, Nicholas, getting out of, getting out of high school, and they decide to go the trade route, and you have another one that says, okay, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go to Mars Hill University down the street from Billy, going to spend $100,000, lose 4 years of my life getting a degree in something that almost certainly I will not be able to do anything with. And then I'm on the hook. It's a Faustian bargain when you take out these college loans because you're never going to pay them off in most cases. You can go in here and for the investment, like Nicholas was saying, I think through 5 years of union apprenticeship, as far as being an electrician, that's what I know about. 5 years, let's say you were an average student. Let's say you got out with a 75, okay? And let's say you paid for it all yourself. For 5 years of training and got paid at the same time, you're only out $15,000. Look, that probably covers a semester these days of college, maybe not even that much. So to your point, bro, I think it's a brilliant idea. And starting these kids off early and doing exactly what you said there, that way they will never have to work a day. They could be retired. I often say William retired at basically 28.
Amazing.
Really?
Good job, Dad. Good job, Dad.
Really, when you stop, I didn't get all this benefit. I'm the product of 2 convicted felons for parents, okay? And, I didn't get the best. Wow. Yeah, I didn't get the best upbringing in the world, so I had to make all these mistakes. But even retiring at 48, I think I did okay. I mean, because nobody taught me any of this stuff. I had to go out there and find out what not to do. And I think what you're saying here, Nicholas, is absolutely positively brilliant.
Well, let me give you.
Go ahead.
Well, let me give you a good example. My neighbor over here, she's probably in her 60s, this one. And she works in the trades. She's a not hospice, but when you take care of the elderly. So she's taking care of people older than her. She only has a few clients. So she was driving down the road about 10, 15 minutes away, and something happened, ran into the curb. The entire tire and the ball joint, everything just collapsed. She pulls over, calls me, neighbor, I need help. Of course, man. I'm going over there to help her. So we finally get a tow truck guy over there. So the tow truck guy's got the same truck I do, but he's got the bigger version and newer model. And, so when, diesel guys who drive diesel trucks, they talk diesel truck with each other, right? So we're talking, come to find out, this guy was a welder. He went and got his trade. He was working on the oil field, which there's some pros and cons to some of the trades too.
Oh,
right? So
yeah.
actually, let me take a little tangent for a second. Be a good parent, because you do something like pipeline welding and other blue collar jobs. There's drugs, lots of alcoholics, right? So you don't have to get into that. That's a choice, right? That's a choice. And so, stay away from those things, right? So we went and did that, made a bunch of money. And how I know this, because we were talking to trucks, and I've got an older diesel. It was deleted when I got it. And he's got a newer one. He's like, yeah, I deleted it. And he goes, and I spent like $60K upgrading it. You should see this. He uses it for, tow and stuff. And I'm like, man, what did your wife say? She goes, nothing. She's as happy as she can be, because I make so much money. Spending $60K on my truck was nothing at all. It was a drop in it, and you wouldn't think about it at all. But he made his first bit of money welding, and it set him up to get trucks to now he owns his own towing service, and he loves life. He does exactly what he wants to do. Spends $100K a year probably of making his trucks ridiculous, and happy guy. And that comes from the trades. He's got real money to do it.
But you did point out something that's very, very critical, and I'm glad you did, is that when you get mixed up in the trades, it's like the going, this is, I can't even believe this is a thing, but it's legit. And I'm so glad you brought it up. They're saying, look, in the course of your career, I remember when I first got in, I'd already been in the Army by that point, and I'm being told how to live life by a guy that never even left the state of Oklahoma. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, a whole lot of wisdom here. So anyway, this guy, he's telling me, and it wasn't just him, and it turned out to be something of a maxim, almost axiomatic. He says, in the course of your life in this trade, let me tell you, son, you're going to get a brand new truck, brand new tools, and a brand new wife. And I'm like, okay. And at the time, I didn't even know. I mean, I was so green in the trade, but I didn't even know what he was talking about. Brand new wife, brand new tools, and brand new truck. To this day, well, I was one of the rare few that made him a liar on all three counts. Got old tools, got the same tools I had as an apprentice, got the same wife, and never bought anything new. Anything. Because I realized that was the polar opposite, because honestly, it's going to require a certain level of discipline in these trades, because it's either feast or famine. There's times out there where I remember working in a Corvette factory, and I'm working quite literally. I was a foreman up there, and I was working when I left Texas. That was one of the places I went. Nicholas, I was working literally 16-hour days, and they would pay us, and anything we worked over, I mean, I was making ridiculous amounts of money up there, and almost killed myself. I worked 3 months straight, 7 days a week, never missed a single day the whole time doing it, and really messed myself up in the process of doing it. But in the process of all this, there is a danger that when you make all this money, if you're not disciplined, there's going to be those guys, and I would say 90% of all the people in the trade spend it on bubble gum. And then they have to live this life for the rest of their lives, where, like your buddy was talking about, yeah, he went on the road for a while. Apparently he made some wise decisions. He was in that one, and I would say it's literally 1% that ever find their way out of that trade. And I was among that 1% also, because I was realizing, okay, this is no way to live, man. I'm missing, at the time, I don't think I was the best dad in the world because I wasn't even there. I'm out here chasing this brass ring because I had to. And then, but there are some cautionary tales in all this, man. If there was ever a course to be made, boy, you ought to make that one, because
well, look, I mean, every kid's different, right? You can have the most stellar parents. You could have two kids, one does this and one does that, right? I mean, people with brothers. I was just talking to a new friend yesterday. He's a worship leader at a church, right? He's got 2 kids. He's starting an eye care business, works at an eye care business and starting one. Like it's like there's urgent cares. He's creating a new market, urgent eye care. I'm like, that's brilliant, but his brother, well, now that I said that, I can't tell you anything. And I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the polar opposite, right? I don't want to talk about his business.
I get it.
No names were provided. But you get the point, right? However, with that said, I think that discipline comes with letting, like, look, I got a little kid, but she still gets homework. She was just doing an Einstein research project, was teaching her how to research, and then about a public figure, and hers was Einstein. And so, look, if you have a kid, you know how it works. Do this. Okay. You do it for me. I don't want to do it. And so you've got to say things like, okay, I will, because I love you, I'm going to let you fail, but you're going to have to redo this grade. Oh, wait a minute. Like, I know, one, the social pressure, right? My friends are moving up, but I'm not moving up, 2, it's like the reality hits even at a younger age, okay, well, wait a minute. I don't want to fail. And so this connects the same thing with like, I'm like a super Christian, man. And so, but you'll see the correlation, what I'm trying to say here, right? You'll see the correlation. I train my daughter. I don't get into the details right now, but if you're going to school, you're going to be around people who think we are stupid because we believe in God. They're going to think we're dumb. We don't need to be rude to them. And they're going to do things that what we teach is sin. We don't have to be rude to them either. But listen, we're called to love people. And just because somebody else is living a certain way doesn't mean we need to live that way. But when you get older, kid, there's going to be adversity now for people thinking we're dumb. And that's okay. But then they're going to start ridiculing us because, why would you believe in some superstition when you can believe in something like science? Well, look, science only works because you got one miracle, right? There was nothing, and then all of a sudden there's something. I don't know. Okay, then you explain everything else. Anyway, without getting too far into that. And so planting the mental adversity, it's like hardening up a plant, man, right? You're going to have challenges. And as you get older and the challenges get more sophisticated, well, then we could start talking about different worldviews like materialism and evolution and the 5 big faiths of the world, like Buddhism and Hinduism and Islam and Judaism and Christianity, and then have the same critical eye as you have towards Christianity, towards the others, and then go find truth. Same thing here, right? The discipline in your kids is like, we're going to give you the adversity they can handle, And I have to admit, as growing up as a latchkey kid, I do have to say good job on my parents for allowing me to fail, right? It probably created hyper independence, but probably better that than me. What do they call it in your parents' basements with Cheeto dust all over me for the rest of my life? Like, which one would I rather have? And maybe if you're just, we're all learning, right? You go back and you look at your parents and you realize that hopefully they're just doing the best they can, if they did anything at all, right? Yours is a different story by all means, right? They needed to recruit you.
Yeah, my dad didn't care, dude. He didn't care what we did as long as it didn't cost him money. I mean, if it cost him money, dude, that's your butt. But yeah, man. Oh, here's another one somebody put in the chat here, and I think it's a good one. Septic is a good one. It's all these jobs, believe it or not, man. Septic tank. Who was it? Oh man, there was a girl that did. I can't remember how many septic tank business owners are making a killing. And they don't even do it. I mean, they are making an absolute killing because it's a job nobody wants to do. Well, you know what? I wouldn't now, but I mean, back in the day, had I known what septic people that own the companies actually get paid, it blew my mind when I found out. Or the people out there with the honey dipper cleaning out the porta potties. I was like, how on earth? Oh my goodness, I would not want to do that job. But hey,
I think I spoke about it with you. If not, there was a time, I think in the mid-teens, 2015s or whatever, I could just see it. Like the silver tsunami's coming. The boomers, they don't want to stay home. The RV parks are going to explode. And what happened, man? The RV parks exploded. Well, here's another one. It ties with the septic. There's at least 50% of the RV parks around here. They don't have all the amenities. So you're having to go somewhere to wash your clothes. So, man, build a little 16 by 20, put as many washer dryer stacks as you can. Tell the place, hey, I'm going to come in here and I'm either going to pay you something small or I'll give you a tiny percentage and I'm going to add an amenity for your park. All I need to do is I need some, a little bit of wiring to, we might need to put another panel in here. I'll pay the electric. I'm going to put the coins in. So it's coin operated or card. It could be card operated. And we're going to tie into your septic. So one of your units is going to have a Y where the septic goes in for the RV and then one for this. And yeah, man. So now you're adding an amenity to these RV parks. At least 50% of them don't have them. And now you got a passive coin operated or, and look, there was a time where, you're spending $100 a week on washing clothes, if that's what's happening. And so it's another passive income, utilizing what's there, not a huge investment, right?
You could absolutely do that and then own both ends of it. Prime example would be, okay, so you could say, okay, I'll put this in here. I'll put in a washer dryer stack all the way through. And I agree with you. That would be a killer. Plus, it'd be a coin-operated business. Anybody know where the term money laundering came from?
Oh, well, no, here he goes. Where did it come from?
Yeah, it came from basically, that's how the mob used to basically clean their money, was coin-operated businesses, whether it was a car wash or a laundromat. So, I'm not saying you should go out there and, do that, but I'm just saying.
Just in case.
If it got bad enough. But honestly, since you're using so much extra water, now let's say it was all going in the septic. What if you own the septic business that would be paid to go out? So you could start off with a laundromat, make so much money, but you own the septic. So you own both ends of that. There are so many different ways you can go out there, folks, and you don't have to get into a mountain of debt to get on the other side of it. And I know a lot of people right now. In fact, some of them had even said it in the chat that, they're struggling. They're like, okay, now what do we do? Well, I think honestly, by what I'm seeing right now, Nicholas, before I got out of the trade, if I had a nickel for all of the guys who were then my apprentices that had gotten 4-year degrees in computer science or something like it, and all of a sudden got out, couldn't find a job, and then they went into the trades. But now, oh my goodness, they're saddled with $100,000+ worth of debt. When if you went into the trade to begin with, you would have never incurred that debt in the first place. So, Hey, bro, we're coming to the end of it here. But honestly, I want to ask you. We'll have to continue this another time. But before we get out of here, look, man, one of the biggest things, because this is the Permaculture Pimpcast, man, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about. People are asking me every time, where do I go to get a PDC? And I always recommend you. And you have an online, you don't do the in-person thing right now, and I get it, but the online thing, folks, is still great. There are so many people out there, record numbers prior to Trump getting in, that were getting into this space. In fact, Gerald Talente, the trends forecaster, was talking about one of the biggest trends was people getting into homesteading. And honestly, homesteaders can be the best thing in the world for the land, but more often than not, they're the worst. And they do everything. It's ready, fire, aim in so many different cases. I'm not being critical of you folks because honestly, you'll figure it out. You would save yourself a whole lot of mistakes if you went and got yourself a permaculture design certificate before you get too deep down the road in the homestead space. Folks, I'm telling you, it is the best money you will ever spend. So you still have the online thing going, right? Do you have any deals for everybody that's here today, or what do they expect?
So look, we don't even need to sell it anymore, man. Like, people get it. I mean, here, if there's only one thing to say selling it, it's with a student who came up to me afterwards, after the course. He was very skeptical, and he said, dude, you saved me $100,000 in infrastructure, right? I was going to go one direction. I had it all planned out. After this, I just saved $100K. Now, that's going to happen to you too. You just don't know that you're going to spend $100K because you're going to mess it up and you're going to have to redo it and redo it. So that the mess up has become way smaller with education. And I love what you say, Billy. But let me stop here for a second, because there's no reason to oversell anything. Here's the deal. $800 to get a certification. I'm trying to help you for the rest of the spring. So should I make it 1 month or 2 months to give him this deal? It's ridiculous. I shouldn't do it, but it's ridiculous. Which 1 month or 2 months to give him the deal, Billy?
I'd say 2 months.
How many?
2.
All right, 2 months. 2 months within 60 days from today, since it's live. I'm going to give Billy a link. You can go sign up. You can get a certification for $150. Sorry, $147. I forgot. That's what somebody told me to do. And then, but here's the catch, because that's super low, because you need to have some skin in the game. You have to finish it within 4 months. So I'm going to leave the opening, the opportunity there for 60 days, $150. I'm trying to help you.
Wow.
And then you have 4 months. After that, you can't come back and say, hey, can I get it again? Prices are just going to go up. So it's a one-time deal. It came to me the other day, and I was like, you know what? Let me do it. And so that's why I reached out to Billy, and we came up with something to talk about. But so I'm just going to give you the link here after we're done, Billy. And then just when you post it, it's just really going to go to your listeners, because your listeners are, I love it. I love it. I remember you in the class back there. I thought he was going to be a heckler, but come to find out, you're one of the smartest people I've ever met. And I was like, man, you need to do this. You need to start this. And I don't know if you remember, and I'm going to remind you, because it's such a good deal. And I'm so impressed and I'm amazed by you. I said, you have so much to bring to like a podcast and a YouTube channel. And dude, you didn't believe in yourself. You were like, what? Nah, dude, look at you. It makes me, you're doing way better things than I've done, man. I'm so grateful for and so impressed by what you're doing.
Well, thank you for the kind words, but bro, I want to know where's my refund, because I spent the full price when I went through this thing, and it took
no refunds, man. I mean, look, so you're going to be tested. You this is the discipline deal. When you take it in person, you're disciplined because you're going somewhere. That's the wonderful deal. You got a time frame to be in it, and that's what makes it so successful. I love it. When you're online, you're like, oh, I'll get to it. Well, if you get to it, you lose your money, right? You lose your money, and it's not going to happen again.
Well, that's a deal of a lifetime, bro. I feel no need to sell this, because I tell everybody, look, you can avoid, I don't even know how many problems on your homestead just by getting a permaculture design certificate. And then you still need to do other things, because when you go out there, you buy property, whatever, you still need to not design it yourself, because you can't look at it objectively enough. So I mean, there's things that Nicholas is going to teach you in that course, and it's golden, folks. Honestly, it's the best in terms of my education. Yes. And I've said it before. It was the best money I ever spent. Has been the money to get educated by Nicholas and Jeff Lawton and so many others. I mean, I've spent, folks, I mean, just to go to the Stockman Grass Farmer Conference the last time, the best conference I'd ever been to. And I think it was, people were complaining because it was $600 a head. Do you have any idea how much money I made out of that conference? Because I didn't have to make these colossal mistakes. Well, yeah. Nicholas, I can't even believe you got it that low, but man, I'm glad. And by the way, for all the detractors out there that are going to say, oh, Billy, look, I don't make a dime out of this. I never have. I never will, because I honestly feel this is something you need to have. I'm going
to leak it. I was like, dude, get a percentage of whatever that you're selling the PDC to. And he's like, I said, man, well, I go, what are you passionate about? and is stopping child trafficking. So a percentage of those things from the past went to help stop child trafficking. So he's being honest, and that's what happened.
Yep. So, I mean, it's really the best. It's the best money you could spend. Honestly, you know what, Nicholas, I think honestly, this would be a really good, I'm just blown away, honestly, that you even offered a deal that fantastic.
2 months, 2 months only.
Yeah, but you know what? If somebody's looking for a real good challenge, let's say you got one of those kids that's in the basement eating Cheetos or whatever the case may be. Look, this is your time to tell that kid, get loose or get lost. Or maybe a kid that doesn't have any direction, because honestly, once you get into chapter 3, folks, I honestly believe you will never see the world again the same. You never will. When you get into chapter 3, you will never see the world the same ever again. It's without a doubt the best money I've ever spent on my education, and I have spent thousands. And just like Nicholas, I didn't have to spend it at a university because I used my GI Bill. Used my GI Bill also on my apprenticeship. Didn't have to do any of that. But honestly, the money I spent out of my pocket for my own education, whether it was through all these different modalities, whether it was learning under Elaine Ingham, whether it was learning under Nicholas, Jeff Lawton, some of the others, it without a doubt has been the best money I've ever spent, and it has saved me thousands. So, folks, if you're looking for an option for your kids, there you go.
All right, man. Well, that's good. No need to say any more. Which is, let's cut it like that, and that's great, man. So, yeah, with that, if you're watching this, I'm going to come back and watch the comments a little bit later. You could reach out to me personally. Let me know what you think about this deal to help your kids get freedom, right? And if you have other ideas, I'm always open to hearing either combinations or just brand new ideas, period. I mean, it ain't about us anyway. Once you have kids, man, it's passing it on.
That's right. And so tell everybody where they can find you and where they can find your content.
So you can go to School of Permaculture. You'll need to email. I think I heard the other day somebody tried to use the form. Obviously, I'm trying to live what I'm teaching, and so I'm barely on the computer. Also, I got so much work going on. You could go to the YouTube channels. My name, Nicholas Burtner, and School of Permaculture. It's the same deal. And I guess all those social medias out there, that's the same. Same. And so come to me or, Billy, I've had a few people come and say, hey, I heard about you through Billy Bond. And I'm like, oh man, I already know this is going to be a good conversation, because if you're listening to Billy, a strange thing that happens to me everywhere I go, I end up, for whatever reason, everywhere I start making friends with Marines. It's a strange thing. And so I like the purple ones, by the way, the crayons, the purple ones that fits over here. But your listeners, they may be crayon eaters, but probably not. And even if you are a crayon eater, you're my friend. You're my friend personally. And let's come out here and let's do strange things, like train like we're going to be training for Marine infantry. But you, listening to Billy is always going to be a brain squeeze.
Well, I thank you for the kind words, Nicholas, and I thank you for coming on, bro. Folks, I guess if you're listening to the audio format, we'll go ahead and put that link he's talking about and how you get that incredible deal all down below. Folks, I mean, it's been a joy to have you on, Nicholas. Thank you so much, my man.
Hey, listen, call me later, man, and give me an update, personal things like your family, what you've been doing. We barely had any time to talk. So I miss you like a brother, and I'll treat you like a brother in Christ, not just on podcast stuff, man.
Amen to all that. Well, man, thank you so much for being here. I want to thank everybody for checking us out, y'all. If this has been a blessing to you, go check out the rest of it. At least down below in the description box. Until next time, stay alert, stay alive. Let the ideas unfold. I'm moving with the truth. Feeling nature's food. Who's got the answers? All we need to do. Listen to the earth, they got us. Let's see the change. What the world's
spin. From the smallest sprout to the harmony begin. In the cycle of life, where the magic's alive. To the